Hi, everyone. Today I have with me Kevin Peranio. Kevin is one of the contributing authors to Mortgage Manager Mastery, a book for new and experienced sales leaders in the mortgage and financial services industry. Kevin wrote a fabulous chapter on budgeting and planning for the new era of mortgage lending, time, talent, and technology. Kevin is the Chief Lending Officer and partner at PRMG. Kevin's had a long history of financial position and currently is on the board California Mortgage Bankers Association. Kevin, thanks for joining me today. I'm excited to talk to you about your chapter. It was terrific. And I want to start off with talking about what was the one big idea that you want managers to take away from your chapter?
Well, I appreciate it. I know it takes a lot of work on your part to put this thing together, and I'm honored that you had me part of it. So thank you, Pat. Well, I gotta say, I wanted to touch on AI because that's all anyone talks about, but I wanted to make sure people talked about it in relationship building terms. Like this is
Mhm.
still a relationship business. This is still a disciplined sales action and management business. And so, I remember when I was writing this chapter, it wasn't too long ago, you got this book out, in a good amount of time. I was like, if I write something about AI, is it going to be
Yeah.
outdated by the time it hits the paper? I try to be a little evergreen, but I'm trying really hard to make sure that our use of AI is there to be accretive to the business,
Mhm.
not to cut costs. And so
Correct.
I couldn't get into it in the chapter, too much. But about 9 years ago, I was at a fireside chat with Mark Benioff, the CEO of Salesforce,
Mhm.
and he was being interviewed by the Wired magazine editor chief. And they said, when 45% of the world's jobs are automated, what are you going to do as leaders? And so for us, we are we are doing AI voice first because that will
Mhm.
load up new sales opportunities and calls and contacts to then max out the existing processors and LOAs
Mhm.
with business. Some companies are trying to bring an agentic AI over
Correct.
here, save 5,000 bucks on this branch or 3,000 here or whatever. And I don't want to lose PRMG family members or teammates. So we want to load up revenue and then come behind after they're strapped and maxed out with a different kind of agentic AI to help with the processing and stuff. And so, corporate responsibility is huge, but then
Mhm.
both ops and sales working together, they have more time to do the stuff that matters, work on harder deals, develop relationships, do business development, recruit, work on their profitability, work in the business. Those are my big ideas.
Well, I agree with you 100%. I'll have to have you come back and we'll have to do another podcast since you're off the road. So,
Let's
yeah, let's do it. Anyway, let's talk about the action step for managers listening to us today and reading your chapter.
Well, I brought up the 1 in 5 rule, and I think that will be even more important because I'm not saying that like AI is an extinction event, but training a new salesperson, like I talk about the 3 keys to success in the chapter, being a product and technology expert, being highly
Mhm.
organized, but you got to be motivated. And so sometimes you don't know if someone's motivated. You don't know how impactful they'll be, and they got to like build up contacts and relationships, and they got to get up there when you're getting someone that's green. And I think that weed out process is going to accelerate, especially, if,
Mhm.
look, we've all made a bad hire. We've made a bad hire. And so,
Oh, yeah.
that 1 in 5 rule is like, look, try and hire 4 people with relationships and with a book and who are experienced for every one person you hire that's completely green. I'm not saying don't do it because the next superstar is out there and you got to get them a lift somehow. But if you make a bad hire, I think the leash is probably going to be a little bit shorter in this new day and age.
I agree with you on that one also, and we don't do enough of it in our industry for sure. So glad to hear that and I'm glad you wrote about it. So let's talk about if we look at the next few years, you already brought up AI, but what is the opportunities that you see for managers and sales leadership?
Well, it kind of combines with the thing you just said. We don't do enough of it
Mhm.
because our originators, they're the ones out there building relationships, whether it's with consumers or whether it's with real estate agents or whatever. And so they many lenders, many are beholden to the originator's actions and they have the upper hand. And that's fine. I mean, here at PRMG, we are built by originators for originators. We want to serve them. But if there's a better, faster, and then maybe if you're lucky, cheaper way Not that I say that third on
Mhm.
purpose, but if there's better, faster, cheaper way to create more business or to show your originators that you can allow them to scale at your company, then the sales managers and the originators and the company all kind of row in this different direction where we're being more impactful in less time. And you start to get the upper hand on the underperformers. It's like I
Yeah.
remember and like you're probably just alluding to, many sales managers are like, well, yeah, I've got someone that does a loan every 90 days. And if I fire all 10 of them that do that, that's 40 loans in a year that I'm not
Yeah.
getting paid on, and that's just that, but like you can have the confidence to go, yeah, someone really should be doing, 1 to 3 a month at minimum. Like you really got to get them there. And so then you're not beholden to that as a manager, as a team, as a processor, as a company, which by the way, typically, underperformers, they have a lot of questions. They take a lot of the time and the resources to get that one loan every, 90 days. And so I think, everyone that performs at a higher level will start to get the upper hand.
Well, I'm with you on that topic. I think that's another chapter, obviously, in the book because we don't do that enough in the industry. So,
It's
so
it's
any
it's
other
hard.
takeaways? It's hard.
It
Well, yeah, it's hard. It's not easy, and it's the most emotional thing you do as a manager. And it's not, as a result, it gets delayed. But you're exactly right. Any other takeaways you want to share today?
I'm pretty excited about 26 because productivity, a lot of the thing I try to talk about, is budgeting for time in the chapter. I'm a big time ROI guy. I I allude in the chapter like I'm good at math, I can do math. Money ROI is like that's like I think my third grade son, he's learning that kind of math right now. He's 8. So, is there a return on investment? I think that, and there's nothing wrong. You still need to manage to that. But if you say, here's how much we make per hour or per time or per output or per employee. I'm seeing this revenue per employee metric, which is something that's really been under the spotlight, like Nvidia, right? Semiconductor, center of the
Oh,
universe. They bring in $4 million in revenue per employee. And I think the next best is Google at 2 million. Now, I'm not saying we're a bunch of tech bros here in our business, but if you think about how much time and how much productivity do people on your team, can you measure it? Is there a metric to it? And that's just something, that I think in 26, I think people, will start to think about that a little more than they have in the past because it's getting easier to see stuff. The reporting's better, the data's
right.
better. I mean, look how easy it is to look up on, a large language model and ask, and get all these answers and have it think for you a little bit. It's just it's gonna be it's exciting to me. It's exciting. I'm not scared of the future. What I'm scared about is my 4 little kids, 12 and under, that are on social media, like like any parent would be. That's probably the only thing I'm fearful of is that they don't get in their own head when their head is not fully developed. And by the way,
Yeah.
Pat, women's brains develop like 24, men are like 25, 26. So, we so you're the smarter of the sexes, but I've got 3 girls and a boy, and I'm so worried about these little monkeys, and but I think every parent worries about that. But I'm really excited from a business standpoint going forward.
Yeah, I think it's exciting times. I agree with you. And I want to thank you for joining us today. And certainly for everybody watching, you can dive deeper into Kevin's chapter. It was fantastic by going to Mortgage Manager Mastery or Amazon to purchase the book. Thanks so much, Kevin.
Thank you, Pat. Appreciate it.